So where are Parisians shopping in Paris, and should you be shopping the same places? Let's talk about it, but with respect to the department stores. So in Paris, there are 5 department stores known also as Les Grands Magasins. They are Galeries Lafayette, Printemps, BHV, La Samaritaine, and Le Bon Marche. So, should you be shopping these, and do actual locals shop these? Let's get into it. I would say there are 3 factors that determine whether or not a local is going to shop a particular department store. One is the rewards program. So unlike the US, where you might have to get a store credit card in order to benefit from a rewards program, that does not exist in France. So basically all you need is your local phone number, your address, and boom, you're in the rewards program. So as a result, I think it's one of the things that really affects whether or not a Parisian decides to shop at a particular Grand Magasin or not, is whether or not they get the points. The second thing is based upon location. I mean, yes, we know that there are obviously tourists in Paris, and personally, I love that. I think that's great. However, as a local, as a Parisian, it does get a little overwhelming when you're just trying to kind of run an errand and you feel like you're being crushed by people in a particular place. So the number of tourists in the location, I think, really does affect whether or not locals actually frequent that location. And the third factor that I think affects whether or not locals actually want to shop at a particular department store is based upon whether or not it offers something that you can't get somewhere else. So is there something that's a bit exclusive about it, different about it? That definitely affects whether or not we shop there. So will that affect whether or not you would want to shop there if you're visiting Paris? Let's talk about that even more. We're going to start today with Galeries Lafayette. Galeries Lafayette is probably one of the most well-known department stores in Paris. It's on every single list, every single, Instagram post and TikTok video of places you have to go visit when you come to Paris. So Galeries Lafayette is definitely known as a tourist spot, and that's because of the architecture. The architecture is just absolutely stunning. As a result, it has become a huge tourist destination, particularly during the holiday season, because we all know they decorate the store. They have a gigantic Christmas tree. There's a little show. I love it. Don't worry, I will be filming it for you and putting it on the channel when it happens. One of the things you may not know about Galeries Lafayette, which is also the same for Printemps and BHV, is that there are actually multiple locations around Paris and also around France. So particularly when it comes to Galeries Lafayette, the other locations in Paris, some of them are in touristy neighborhoods like the Champs-Élysées, and others are not. As a result, I really think that the location of the Galeries Lafayette really affects whether or not it is more of a tourist attraction or whether more locals frequent it. But today we're going to focus on Galeries Lafayette Haussmann, since that is the largest, grandest Galeries Lafayette in Paris. Due to the super touristy connotation of Galeries Lafayette Haussmann, I don't really think you're going to find a lot of Parisians here. So I found an article actually dating back to 2009, and it said that about 45% of Galeries Lafayette's business comes from tourists. That's a lot. And to be frank, I can definitely understand that. When you go into Galeries Lafayette Haussmann, oh my gosh, you hear basically every language except French. Now, I think that they have been trying to change this in a lot of ways to appeal to a more local demographic. So for example, they built a whole wellness center that's kind of below ground, and they have classes there, they have beauty treatments you can get there, all sorts of things. It's a beautiful space. It's an amazing beauty section. You can get a lot of items you kind of can't get anywhere else. But with that said, the one downside is that there are just so many people in this store. It is just kind of crushing when you go in there as a local, and that's not really kind of the shopping experience I'm looking for kind of in my everyday. If I need to pick up something, I will a lot of times will do in-store pickup, and then that way I can just go in through the wellness center straight from the metro and then walk right back out to the metro. And personally, I do that just because there really are just so many people. Now, with that being said, I think one of the things that does kind of keep locals coming back and does keep locals an important part of their clientele is the reward program. Galeries Lafayette has a great reward program if you're a local, and the thing is you can't sign up if you're not a local, because aside from the fact you need a local phone number and address, you won't be able to get your VAT refund if you sign up for these programs. So that's why they're very much geared towards locals. And it does have some offerings that you frankly can't get other places, particularly as I mentioned on Houseman with the whole beauty section. They have a lot of products that you may not be able to get at another store, or you may have to order online. So I find it to be really great to be able to just kind of order things from Galeries Lafayette and then pick them up in the store or have them sent to my house. I find that they have like a lot of beauty products that I'm just not able to find elsewhere. And so that's one of the things that definitely keeps me coming back as a local, and I'm sure it keeps other locals coming back. Now, if you're a tourist, should you be visiting Galeries Lafayette, even though, you know, you're probably not going to see local Parisians hanging around there? 100%. Anytime someone comes to visit, I always take them to Galeries Lafayette because it is absolutely beautiful. It's also a fun store to just walk around in, and you can really get anything that you want in there. As I mentioned in my food video, the French don't really like one-stop shopping. That's not really the thing. They really do like to go to individual stores. But if you're visiting someplace, a one-stop shop where you can get a bunch of different items and shop a bunch of different brands in one place, that's kind of what you want. So I definitely think that it's a really great option if you are a tourist. But just, do the locals shop there? Not so much. Do the locals, however, shop at other Galeries Lafayette locations that frankly aren't in tourist areas? 100%. I've noticed when I visited other cities in France, and then also when I go to Paris, the other Galeries Lafayette locations in Paris that are not in tourist neighborhoods, those are 100% primarily occupied by locals who are in there doing their shopping. But the thing is that those are all smaller, and they frankly just don't have all the same offerings that you might be able to get at Galeries Lafayette Haussmann. So that's one of the things that I think is kind of like a little bit of a tension with Galeries Lafayette, is that like you may want to go in to get something because it's only at Haussmann, but gosh, you're going to be crushed by people. So as a local, you're not shopping there as much, but as a tourist, are you? Is it a good spot? 100%. Okay, next up, let's talk about Printemps. So Printemps Haussmann is also on Boulevard Haussmann. It's right next to Galeries Lafayette. And Printemps, just like Galeries Lafayette, has multiple locations across Paris and then also across France. Now, I would say the thing about Printemps is that it is probably more conducive to shopping there if you are a local than I'd say Galeries Lafayette. So Printemps was built in 1865, and although it has that same stunning original architecture as you see in Galeries Lafayette, I feel like it's not really as much a tourist draw because you don't have that huge vaulted ceiling that everybody knows of when they think of Galeries Lafayette. So as a result, I think Printemps is definitely more of a shopping destination, and whereas Galeries Lafayette is kind of an experience in some ways. So Printemps, I would say that their Haussmann location is huge, first and foremost, is important to note, but they also have a lot of restaurants in their Haussmann location, so on the roof. And I think that that is a really big draw, not just for tourists, but also for locals, because these restaurants have just stunning Eiffel Tower views, and they are just wonderful places to go, particularly in the summer. The thing about Printemps is that they have a lot of offerings that you're probably not going to find elsewhere in Paris. So the thing I would say when it comes to Printemps, Printemps is probably a bit more luxe than Galeries Lafayette. They definitely have more luxe brands. And as part of that, they have more exclusively luxe brands. So they're exclusive to Printemps. So as a result, you're able to find those things. And that I think makes it a really huge draw if you're a local and you're looking for kind of some luxe items. Another thing about Printemps is that they have a really, really great rewards program if you're a local. I personally think it is the best rewards program out of all the grand magasins. And so I do a lot of shopping at Printemps when I'm looking for a particular item. First place I go is like Printemps to see if that they have it. And I think that that is a huge, huge draw if you live here, because you're really getting your money back for the purchases that you're making, which is exactly what you want, right? Now, the one thing is that Printemps is also in a very touristy area, right? It's right next to Galeries Lafayette. So you would think that you would have throngs of tourists going through there all the time. There are, right? Like there are plenty of tourists kind of all over the shop. And I definitely think I'm seeing more and more. But I do think that because of the loyalty program and the fact that they do have some more exclusive luxe brands, I do think that's really kind of a big draw if you are a local. Plus, they also have a section that's specifically an out of season section. And in that section, basically you can find like designer and luxe items that are 2 or 3 seasons old that they've discounted. And so it's a really great way to score like a piece from a designer you've always wanted, but on a discount. And even better is that they have this great vintage section on their top floor of their women's store. It is amazing. Some of it is very luxe, like high-end luxe vintage. Other is just kind of normal priced vintage, but the point is that you can find some really amazing pieces up there, and I think that's another really, really big draw if you're a local, is kind of being able to shop for like new and vintage in the same place. So with that being said, should you shop there if you're a tourist? 100%. I definitely recommend going by there, and particularly because of the out of season section and the luxe vintage section. If you like vintage, I think that it's a really great way to get to shop and not have to spend time necessarily like rooting through things, right? If you are not a bin rooter, as a lot of vintage shoppers are, then you're probably going to like the section at Printemps. In addition, the best part is that it's also like right next to like the terrace outside. So after you're done doing your shopping, you know, and getting some vintage items, you can grab a cup of coffee, which is really quite nice, and enjoy a nice Eiffel Tower view. So I definitely think you should visit Printemps for that. And I also, as I already mentioned, they have some really, really great restaurants. So if you are visiting as a tourist, definitely 100% stop by their restaurants, definitely enjoy the seasonal fare, because yes, they're all very, very good. Okay, next up, let's talk about BHV. I think BHV is a pretty interesting option because BHV is right in the Marais, and yet I had never heard of it until I moved to Paris. I literally never set foot inside BHV before I moved to Paris. So BHV used to be owned by Galeries Lafayette, but as of this year, it appears that Galeries Lafayette has sold BHV. And so the loyalty programs between Galeries and BHV used to be the same, but now they're definitely probably going to be changing, but we don't know. We'll see how that happens. The thing about BHV is that when it comes to BHV Marais, you can basically get almost all the same things you can get at Galeries Lafayette, except just in a smaller store. So one thing to note about that is that BHV does not have the luxury shops like you're gonna find at Galeries Lafayette or Printemps, or frankly any of the other department stores. It is definitely, I would say, much more of a local spot. It has a really great beauty section, which is nice, but it doesn't have a lot of the frills meant to kind of create experiences that you see at a lot of the other department stores. Additionally, the thing about BHV is that it has like I'm sorry, I just find this funny. It has a hardware store in the basement, right? Like, and if you're a tourist, you don't really need like a hammer, but like maybe if you're a local, you do. So So I think for that reason, it is definitely much more strongly geared towards a local audience. And in spite of its location, which is the Marais, which you would think was super busy, it's kind of at the beginning of the Marais, so it's not super touristy. And as a result, you can really maneuver around the store. It's not super crowded like, for example, Galeries Lafayette is. So if you're visiting Paris, should you stop by BHV? Well, here's the thing. As I already mentioned, basically anything you want in BHV except for, you know, your hardware stuff, you're going to be able to find at Galeries Lafayette. And on top of that, if you're into luxury shopping, you're going to find even more of that at Galeries Lafayette. You're just not going to find that at BHV. So is BHV a shop that you really need to stop by if you're visiting Paris? No, I would say it's definitely more of a local spot, not really so much for tourists. Now, that being said, I'm seeing more and more tourists in there all the time, and I'm definitely hearing more English spoken in there, but I think people are also often very kind of surprised because they think it's going to be more like Galeries Lafayette, and it's just, it really is not. It's just, it definitely has more of a like locals vibe to it. So if you're visiting, do you need to add it to your list? Not really. You can move it. There are going to be some others that are probably more geared to what you're looking for. Next up, let's talk about Le Bon Marche. Le Bon Marche is personally one of my favorite department stores in Paris, but interestingly enough, it's again a department store that I had never heard of until I moved here. Now, with that being said, it is being featured more and more on social media, so I am noticing that there are more and more tourists that are at Le Bon Marche, but I do not think it was very touristy before. I think that is something, it is kind of becoming a bit more touristy. With that being said, Le Bon Marche is definitely a luxury department store. That is really what it is. That is kind of the area that it's located in is very luxe, right? Like that neighborhood. So it's definitely much more of a luxury experience. Now, one of the things I absolutely love about Le Bon Marche is that they do these really cool programs in the store, and they're constantly changing the interior of the store and decorating it in these fun and cool ways. So obviously for the holidays, they do a whole bunch of decorations, but then you also get kind of these cool little decorations throughout the year. Right now, they're having a performance every single night where it's this really cool acrobatic performance. It's top-notch, amazing, and I think it makes it a really great place to not only shop but also to enjoy an experience, which is nice if you're local but also if you're visiting as well. In addition to that, because the Bon Marche is kind of a luxury department store, they have a lot more luxury brands, a lot more luxe offerings than maybe you're going to find at kind of Galeries or, you know, Printemps. One of the things I notice about like Galeries Lafayette and Printemps is that they always have these like really huge sections for like, you know, certain luxury brands, whereas the thing about Le Bon Marche is they just have so many luxury brands and they have so many different little sections for each of these luxury brands. I think that makes shopping there a really kind of great place to shop if that's what you're looking for. And so as a result, I think it is very conducive to shopping if you're a local, and that's something that you want. You want luxury items. So what's the verdict? Is it someplace that Parisians frequent? Absolutely 100%. All right, now that you know that Parisians go there, does this mean that it's right for you as a tourist? Absolutely. I think Le Bon Marche could be a really great place to shop if you are visiting Paris and you're definitely specifically into luxury shopping. Yes, 100%. Definitely make sure you stop by. You'll have a lot of fun. But with that being said, as I already noted, you know, it definitely, since it is very much a shopping experience, it's not a, you know, oh, we're having champagne and then we're going shopping, and it's not like a grand experience like you might get, for example, at Galeries Lafayette, or, you know, some sort of huge eating destination like you're going to get at Printemps or something like that. So it's just something to keep in mind. It's a chiller vibe, it's shopping, it's luxe. Enjoy it. It's a great neighborhood, and if you happen to be near Saint-Germain-des-Prés, absolutely 100% definitely stop in. Do I think that it's like an absolute must hit though for your trip? No. I think that you can probably be very happy going to Galeries and Printemps and getting basically everything you want from those two stores. Or you may consider going to La Samaritaine. So let's talk about that one next. So La Samaritaine originally opened in 1910, but reopened in 2021 after being closed for 16 years. It's currently owned by the LVMH group. And basically what they've done is they really rehabilitated the whole building. And I can tell you, when it reopened, oh my gosh, there were so many people in the store all the time. It was crazy, it was amazing. Now, not so much. And I'll explain why in a second. So the thing about it is that what LVMH did is they added in a hotel and then numerous kind of Michelin star restaurants at the top. And so as a result, you have this hotel, you have all of these restaurants, and then of course you have La Samaritaine, the department store next door. Now La Samaritaine is huge, it's absolutely beautiful, but the thing about it is that it is definitely a luxury experience. I mean, it is 100% luxury. It is extreme luxury. It is serious luxury. And on top of that, you do have more of the experience aspect to shopping. So it's not just shopping, it's really also very much these it's an experience. There are all of these places you can sit and eat and dine and drink amongst, you know, the store and around the luxe, right? So I think that's one of the things that they did in the store to really kind of make it like an experience. With that being said, since the store first opened, I have to be frank, that store is almost always empty. And the only people I ever see in there are tourists. I do not know locals who really shop in the store. And I think that it is very much due to their rewards program. The rewards program at La Samaritaine is a bit outrageous, and I actually do not think it is even remotely geared to locals. I actually think it is exclusively geared to tourists. And the reason I say that is because the standard is like you have to spend like 5,000 euros before you're able to like get some sort of reward. I mean, it's something insane. Like every other store, like department store, has a threshold of like you spend like 200 euros or 500 euros and then you get like something back. Whereas like La Samaritaine, it's like something crazy. It's like 5,000 euros or something like that. And that's just not geared towards a local clientele. I mean, right? And maybe it's geared to the Arnault family. Like maybe that's who they're going for. But yeah, for the rest of us, not so much. So as a result, I don't really see, you know, locals very often in there. When I go into the store, I really do see tourists. And frankly, the store is like very often very, very empty. It's weird. With that being said, they do have a lot of brands that you don't otherwise see in department stores in Paris. So it is really interesting that, you know, the store is so empty. But again, as I mentioned, I think that this is a sign of how important like these loyalty and reward programs are to us as locals. So is this a place that you're going to see a lot of local shopping in? Not really. So what does that mean for you as a tourist? Should you go? Not go? Absolutely. The architecture is stunning. You should 100% go. And especially if you're looking to do luxe shopping, this is the place, this is the spot, do it here. Other than that, I think there are probably better places you can shop in Paris. I mean, particularly if you're not looking for the ultra luxe experience. Again, though, as I said, the architecture is beautiful, and so you should definitely go in and enjoy it. Get some photos, walk around. The store they really did a top-notch job at the store. And if you do want to do some shopping, do some shopping. No shame in that game. You know, I'm not going to say anything to you. See, here's the thing when it comes to all of these department stores. Each and every one has its own sort of, you know, aspect to it. There's something different to it. Each one has its own vibe, its own uniqueness. There's something in each one for a different type of person. So what's gonna work for maybe us as locals may not be exactly the vibe you're looking for if you're a visitor, and vice versa. So if you are a visitor, you may wanna just kind of stick to the Galeries Lafayette, the Printemps, La Samaritaine, because those are really very much geared towards a tourist experience. However, we're the locals, you're gonna find us at BHV and probably Le Bon Marche, because you know, BHV, you need those hammers, and Le Bon Marche, I mean, who doesn't love the ever-changing like displays in Le Bon Marche? They are definitely a hoot if you live here. So with that being said, I hope you have enjoyed kind of getting to know the differences between these department stores and which ones you'll find Parisians in and which ones are probably going to be more suited to your taste if you're visiting Paris. Please let me know if you have any questions in the comments. Take care, stay safe, and talk to you again soon. Bye.